Welcome to the wildest heavyweight showdown on Earth. Have you ever looked at a cow and thought, nice? But what if it was the size of a minivan and could bench press a Jeep? Well, buckle up because today, we're not talking about farm animals. We're talking about the absolute powerhouses of the animal kingdom, the American bison, North America's burly, bearded battering ram, and the Indian Gaur, Asia's jungle-dwelling muscle tank. These aren't just big, they're beast-level legendary. The bison can stampede through snow like a hairy snowplow with horns. The Gaur? It looks like it was carved by a thunder god and then sent to flex on tigers in the forest. Trust me, if animals had pro wrestling, these two would headline Wilderness Mania. Both belong to the brawny Bovidae family, home of goats, antelopes, and cows. But only one can take the title of undisputed bovid boss. Who's it gonna be? The prairie punk with an attitude, or the jungle juggernaut built like a mythical beast? Spoiler, size matters, and one of these guys is basically the Hulk in hooves. But before we sound the bell, let's meet our massive contenders up close. Get ready for fur, fury, and fun facts. 1. First impressions. Meet the giants. Alright, animal lovers, let's set the scene. You're on a safari. You hear a rumble. Is it thunder? Nope, it's the sound of two of the biggest land mammals from the Bovidae family stomping into frame like they're about to headline an action movie. Let's meet our main characters. American bison, the shaggy tank of the plains. This guy is like the linebacker of the grasslands. Massive shoulders. Check. Beard that looks like he moonlights as a mountain hermit. Check. And a stare that says I've seen some things. Commonly called a buffalo in the US, but fun fact, that's a misnomer. True buffaloes are in Africa and Asia. The American bison is more closely related to European wild cattle. But in true American fashion, we said, meh, let's roll with it anyway. Gotta love it. And make no mistake, this isn't your sweet old dairy cow. The bison can run faster than a horse over short distances and has been known to toss full-grown grizzly bears just for looking at them funny. You do not want to surprise one on a hike. Indian Gaur, the forest's flexing giant. Now enter the Indian Gaur, also known as the Indian bison, but this time, the name actually fits. Picture this, an animal so large it makes a bison look like it skipped leg day. Gaurs are the heaviest wild cattle on Earth, with some tipping the scales at over 1,500 kilograms. That's more than a grand piano, folks. Imagine a bull that went to the jungle, took up weightlifting, and never skipped a protein shake. Broad chest, powerful limbs, sleek dark coat, it's like someone crossed a bodybuilder with a tank. And if the animal kingdom had a Gold's Gym, the Gaur would be the one hogging the squat rack and checking himself out in the mirror. What really seals the deal for me, that iconic, crescent-shaped pair of horns and a towering shoulder hump that looks like it's packing an extra engine under the hood. It's not just big, it's impressively big. If these two beasts walked into a bar, a wildlife bar, the bison would be the bouncer, intimidating and grumpy. But the Gaur, he's the powerlifter in the corner, sipping jungle juice and casually bench-pressing tree trunks. Both are stunning in their own ways, but right from the first impression, the Gaur walks in like a legend. 2. Tail of the tape, size, style, and swagger. Let's talk stats, because in a showdown of giant beasts, size definitely helps, but style points count too. First up, the American bison. Now, don't underestimate this woolly warrior just because it looks like it rolled out of a snowstorm with a hangover. Bison can stretch up to 3.5 meters long. That's longer than most SUVs, and stand about 1.9 meters tall at the shoulder. That means if one walked past you, you'd be staring at a wall of fur and muscle at eye level. And the weight? Anywhere between 320 to 1,000 kilograms, depending on age, sex, and how many prairie snacks it's had that season. But let me tell you, these guys are dense. Not in the didn't do their homework kind of way, but in the can take a hit from a grizzly and keep walking kind of way. Now shift your attention to the Indian Gaur, and things get even more intense. The Gaur isn't just bigger, it's ridiculously bigger. We're talking up to 3.6 meters long, to 0.2 meters tall at the shoulder, and a weight that easily hits 1,500 kilograms, sometimes more. That's a whole half-ton heavier than some bison, and that kind of mass doesn't just stroll through the jungle. It crushes vines, flattens underbrush, and makes trees think twice before growing in its path. While the bison looks like it's built for plowing through snow and fending off wolves, The gaur is sculpted like a statue of power, deep chest, muscular frame, and legs like marble columns. It doesn't look like it evolved, it looks like it was designed by a jungle architect with a thing for overkill. And let's not forget the horns. Bison sport relatively short, curved horns about 60 centimeters long, good for grappling and intimidating rivals during mating season. But the gaur, the gaur goes full drama with long, crescent-shaped horns that can reach a full meter in length. They're not just for show, they can pierce, jab, and throw off predators in a flash. If the American bison is the bulldozer of the plains, the Indian gaur is the jungle's armored personnel carrier. The bison wins points for being scrappy, compact, and no-nonsense. But the gaur, that's raw, unapologetic power with muscle to spare. In a fantasy face-off, you'd admire the bison for its grit, but you'd bet your binoculars on the gaur. 3. Habitat, where they roam. Now let's talk real estate, because even beasts this big need somewhere to stretch their legs. The American bison is a true child of the wild, wide open spaces. Think rolling grasslands, sprawling plains, and sun-baked valleys stretching from Alaska down to northern Mexico. These shaggy tanks once roamed in the tens of millions, thunderously stomping across North America like a furry tidal wave. Today, their stomping ground is more limited thanks, humans, but you can still catch their dramatic strut in places like Yellowstone or the Great Plains, basically any landscape that looks like a cowboy movie set. When you see a bison out there, head lowered, tail flicking, nostrils flaring, you know it belongs. It's not just surviving in those open prairies, it's owning them. Now, flip the globe and dive into the tropical jungles of India and Southeast Asia, where things get steamy. That's where the Indian gaur throws down. These beasts don't do deserts, snow, or high altitudes. Nope, gaurs are all about lowland forests, bamboo thickets, and humid woodlands where everything is green, sticky, and buzzing. Imagine one of these jungle giants crashing through the underbrush like a living wrecking ball. Trees part, monkeys scatter, and birds take flight, not because the gaur is angry, but because it doesn't sneak, it announces itself. And unlike the bison, which shrugs off snow like it's dandruff, the gaur avoids cold weather like it's an unpaid tax bill. Anything above 1,800 meters, not interested. If gaurs had passports, they'd be stamped tropical only. If the American bison is the cowboy of the prairie, the Indian gaur is the jungle king in gym shorts. One thrives in the crisp, dry air of North America's open country. The other swaggers through thick humidity like it's walking onto a Bollywood set. Personally, I'd take the bison's view for the sunsets, but the gaur gets points for style. You haven't lived until you've seen 1,500 kilograms of muscle disappear silently into the jungle mist like a ghost, a very, very heavy ghost. 4. What's for dinner? All right, let's peek into the wild pantry and see what fuels these beefy beasts. The American bison is your classic meathead vegetarian, and I say that with love. This guy is all about grass, and more grass. Short grass, tall grass, prairie grass. If it waves in the wind, the bison's munching on it. But don't let the basic menu fool you, these animals are built like tanks on salad. Come winter, when the prairie turns into a frozen tundra, the bison doesn't flinch. With a neck like a battering ram and shoulders made for shoving, it clears snow with impressive bulldozer moves. Imagine a living snowplow with horns and an attitude. It's one of nature's most dedicated grazers, literally moving mountains of snow just to get a bite of buried greenery. Now let's head to the jungle, where the Indian gaur dines like royalty at a 5-star buffet. While bison are strict lawnmowers, gaurs are culinary connoisseurs, or as I like to say, browsers with bold taste. Sure, they'll eat grass too, but that's just the appetizer. Gaurs munch on leaves, shoots, flowers, fruits, and even the bark of certain trees. And we're not talking everyday apples and oranges. These guys feast on exotic delights like elephant apples and the oddly named golden shower tree. Yes, I know how that sounds. And yes, it's a real plant with yellow blossoms, not a prank. A gaur's dinner plate is basically a rainforest tasting menu, colorful, diverse, and surprisingly refined for a creature that looks like it could bench press a rhino. The bison might win points for grit. Any animal that digs through a blizzard for a bite earns my respect. But if I had to join one of them for dinner, I'm going with the gaur. I like my meals with variety, greenery, and maybe the occasional jungle fruit I can't pronounce. Let's be real, The bison eats like a gym bro on a bulk, the Gaur. That's your friend who knows what foraged cuisine means and actually enjoys it. 5. Daily life, social and survival style. Let's step into the daily grind of these two heavyweights. Spoiler, number 925 desk jobs here, just dust baths, jungle strolls, and the occasional headbutt. American bison are morning to evening roamers. These shaggy tanks love a good stretch across the prairie under the sun. You'll often catch them rolling around in the dirt like oversized puppies. That's called a dust bath, and for bison, it's part spa day, part bug defense system. And when they're not exfoliating, they're rubbing their massive bodies against trees like living back scratchers with horns.
Socially, bison run a tight operation, female-led herds. Thank you very much. The ladies call the shots, while the balls. They're mostly off in their bachelor herds, aka bro squads, just chilling, sparring, and waiting for the dating season to kick off. When the time comes, they swagger back into the main herd like it's the prairie version of The Bachelor, drama included. Now let's head east, into the misty forests, where the Indian Gaur lives a more mysterious, twilight kind of life. These jungle titans are crepuscular, which, yes, sounds like a disease, but just means they're most active at dawn and dusk. Think of them as nature's early risers and sunset strollers. Gaur herds tend to be smaller and led by a dominant male, kind of like a jungle king with his entourage. But not every bull wants the pressure of ruling a squad. Some older males go full lone wolf mode, wandering the forest alone like moody jungle philosophers. I imagine them leaning on a tree, looking off into the distance, thinking, these young bulls just don't get it. If I had to pick a life to live, I'd probably go with the bison. Dust baths, social clubs, and wide open skies sounds pretty great. But if I wanted peace, mystery, and jungle vibes with the occasional exotic fruit snack, Gaur life's calling my name. Let's be honest, bison are the extroverted gym brothers of the plains, while Gaurs are your introverted, jacked yoga instructors from the jungle. Either way, both know how to live large literally and figuratively. 6. Fights and foes. Battle behavior. Don't let the fluff fool you. The American bison is a walking attitude problem wrapped in wool. These prairie bruisers may look like oversized teddy bears with hooves, but they've got a temper that'll flatten a pickup truck. Seriously, in Yellowstone alone, bison send more tourists to the hospital than bears, wolves, and mountain lions combined. People think it's a good idea to get a selfie. The bison thinks otherwise and delivers a 900-kilogram reality check. They're not just aggressive toward clueless humans either. Bison are fully capable of facing off against wolves, cougars, and even grizzly bears. I once saw a video of a bison squaring up to a bear like it owed him rent, head down, snorting, ready to turn the forest floor into a wrestling ring. Respect. Now, swing the camera over to the jungle, where the Indian Gaur handles business a little differently, but no less impressively. These guys are the strong, silent types, but when it's go time, oh boy. Tigers have tried, crocodiles have tried, most leave with bruised egos or worse. There are recorded cases of Gaurs goring tigers to death in defense of the herd. Imagine trying to pounce on a Gaur and getting launched like a rag doll. That's the jungle version of you messed with the wrong dude. Yes, Gaurs are more mellow overall. Some have even been domesticated. Believe it or not, but push one the wrong way, and you've basically picked a fight with a 2-ton battering ram wearing horns. A charging Gaur doesn't run, it demolishes. If I'm walking through the forest and hear a branch snap behind me, I'd rather it be a tiger than a mad Gaur. At least with a tiger, I might have time to scream. Bottom line, bison are scrappy, wild, and short-fused. Gaurs are composed, calculated, and terrifyingly powerful. One's a street brawler, the other's a heavyweight champion with discipline, and both can ruin your day if you're not careful.
Are they dangerous to humans? Short answer, oh yes. But in very different ways, and often because humans don't know when to back off. Let's start with the American bison. These guys are the undisputed kings of don't get too close. They might be munching grass peacefully 1 minute, then launching a tourist 3 meters into the air the next. In U.S. national parks like Yellowstone, bison-related injuries outnumber bear attacks almost every year. Why? Because people think, "Oh, it looks like a fluffy cow." No, it's a muscle-packed missile with horns and zero tolerance for selfies. Here's a fun red, terrifying stat: a bison can run up to 35 miles per hour, 56 kilometers per hour. That's faster than Usain Bolt, so unless you're an Olympic sprinter with a head start, your best bet is to keep a very respectful distance. Now what about the Indian Gaur? Honestly, Gaurs are like the chill giants of the wild. They're not out looking for trouble, and attacks on humans are extremely rare in the wild. That said, when provoked or during breeding season they can become seriously dangerous. I've heard stories from forest rangers in India who say a lone bull gaur in the hormonal rage mode is scarier than a tiger, and trust me, that's saying something. Domesticated gaurs, yes, it happens, are more docile, but wild ones. If you surprise one in the jungle, especially a mother with a calf, you might end up as a cautionary tale told around campfires. Neither species wants to hurt humans, but both will absolutely wreck you if they feel threatened. Respect is key. These are not animals you just want to pet real quick. This isn't a petting zoo, it's nature with hooves and attitude. If you see a bison licking its lips, raising its tail, or pawing the ground, it's not flirting. It's loading the cannon. Time to leave. And if a gaur stares at you from the trees with flared nostrils and lowered head, say a little prayer and back away slowly. Let's get one thing straight. While the American bison and Indian gaur are absolutely awe-inspiring, they are not pets and certainly shouldn't be. Here's why. American bison. Imagine trying to keep a 1,000-kilogram horned beast as your new best friend. That's what it'd be like trying to raise a bison in your backyard. Sure, they look adorable when they're calf-sized sort of, but the moment they grow up, you'll wish you hadn't tried to make friends with a tank on legs. Bison are wild animals, and even on a farm, they're known for their aggression, especially in the breeding season or when they feel cornered. It's not that they don't like humans, they just don't have a chill out and relax button when they feel threatened. So, if you think you can take one home and give it a scratch behind the ears like a dog, think again. Also, bison need massive amounts of space to roam, grass to graze, and a herd to belong to. Your backyard just isn't going to cut it. Plus, when they get the zoomies, they can clear a fence like it's made of toothpicks. Indian Gaur. Now, the Indian Gaur, also called the Indian bison, may look majestic and impressive, but no, they should definitely not be your new pet project. While gaurs are more likely to be domesticated than bison in some parts of India, they're trained for certain tasks. Even the tamed ones are still wild by nature. Imagine keeping a 900-kilogram powerhouse with massive horns in your living room. Now, that's an accident waiting to happen. Despite their calm demeanor, gaurs are territorial, and they'll defend their space and their herd fiercely. If you try to make one your pet, you'll quickly find out that their idea of personal space is about the size of an entire jungle. And guess what? You won't be getting any cuddles from that. Not to mention, gaurs need special care, a diet of fruits, exotic leaves, and the occasional wild tree branch. Yes, you read that right. Your standard pet food just won't cut it. And, like bison, they also need lots of space to roam and a proper herd to feel secure. They're not into small spaces, and let's face it, you probably don't have a private nature reserve in your backyard. Final word from someone who's worked with wild animals. As much as I admire both of these magnificent creatures, keeping an American bison or an Indian gaur as a pet is not just impractical, it's downright dangerous for both you and the animal. These are wild animals that belong in the plains and jungles, not your couch. They thrive in their natural environments, where they can roam, forage, and be themselves. So, if you're looking for a cuddly companion, maybe consider a dog or a cat instead. But if you want to admire some of the world's most incredible wildlife, take a trip to a national park, a wildlife sanctuary, or watch documentaries. Trust me, they're way safer that way. My personal advice: if you want to live on the edge, don't get a pet bison. But, if you do get a chance to see one of these magnificent creatures in the wild, I highly recommend it. Just remember, from a safe distance. If you're into epic animal showdowns, wild facts, and a whole lot of who would win fun, hit that subscribe button and join our wild herd. We've got more jaw-dropping creatures, surprising wildlife trivia, and entertaining battles from nature's arena coming your way. And don't forget to tap the bell icon so you never miss an episode. Because in the animal kingdom, you snooze, you lose, let's get wild together.